Folks, welcome back to So Bad It's Good, presented by Betches Media. Today, we are here to talk about a really new, great reality series that I was made aware of. It is premiering on Hulu on February 11th. There are 8 episodes of this, and it's ABC News Studio, which we love ABC. Obviously, they are the network that does The Bachelor and The Bachelorette, and this is an all-new kind of reality show focused on dating that you have never seen before. This is from the creator of Indian Matchmaking, which I loved on Netflix, and it follows 2 matchmakers, Hoda Abrahim and Yasmin Elhady, who are on a mission to help Muslim American singles find their lifelong partner while staying true to their faith. This is what I call ethical reality television, which I talk about from time to time. So you get to see it all. Cringy first dates, you see like really big connections, and you see how they support their clients in navigating all of these complexities and dating with intention. Yeah, hear that last part, dating with intention, which we all need to potentially do a lot more of. And we have the 2 stars with us today, Hoda and Yasmin. Welcome, assalamu alaikum, and great to see you, ladies.
Thanks, Ryan. We're so excited to talk with you and to talk about this amazing show.
Peace be upon you. Peace be upon you, Ryan.
I don't know the next phrase to say back to you, but
you just say peace be upon you as well.
Peace be upon you. Yeah. See, this is what I loved about this show, though, is that I'm so curious about people and other religions, and this is a show that like really shows the differences in a way, but also the commonalities that we all share. And it celebrates those in this beautiful way. And that's why I really recommend this. And I burned through the first 4 episodes and I can't wait for the next 4. But I wanted to ask you ladies to start with, besides the show, how the heck do you get into matchmaking in how do you even know you have this gift or this talent? Because in the show, I think you've married or you've set 100 couples up, if that's not.
Yeah,
wow.
Between us. Yeah.
Yeah. Honestly, matchmaking chose me. I didn't go out searching for this. It just like happened naturally. Anytime I meet somebody, since as early as like middle school, when I'm meeting people, my first thoughts are, who can I connect them with? Who do I think they would be a good fit with? Not just romantically, also if somebody's moving to a new city and looking for friends, if somebody's looking for a career opportunity, like connecting people is my greatest joy in life. And it's just how my brain operates and how it's wired, and there's nothing I could do about it. I couldn't stop even if I wanted to.
I mean, so you're a connector, and for you, would you feel the same? Was it a same kind of thing for you?
It happened much later than middle school, I will have to say. I will say that I didn't deal with minors in general. I wasn't a minor. No, I honestly, it kind of came to me when I was in law school. And I met a girl that I thought would be a really good fit for my brother. And that was my first match.
Wow, actually. You started it off on your own family? That is quite a risk.
I know. It was like go big or go home. That's what I say. And I called my brother and I said, hey, I think I met your wife. And he's like, don't you think I should meet her first? And I'm like, it's a minor detail. You'll get along with her. Yeah. So I realized I could do that for other people too. And that's when I started matching.
And then how did you 2 link up and know that you could work together? Because is there a good cop, bad cop element here? I mean, Yasmin, I think sometimes I've noticed in the series, you can be a little more, I don't know if it's like, you have a little bit more of a dry sense of humor, or you're a little more acerbic. How do you guys work together? How did that happen?
I say I'm spicy. You know, I'm like a delicious spicy taco. Not everyone likes them, but I do. And
I like them.
I thank you. It's not everyone's cup of tea, but I feel like I'm a straight shooter. So I am a little bit of a bad cop. I've also had a lot of relationship experience myself, and I know what's at stake. I know how deep a relationship goes, and also how much people need a reality check. So that's kind of my role. I try to give the real, get people out of Delulu land and into the real, not only just the complexities of a relationship, but also kind of how they're standing in their own way.
Well, and I do want to give one example to the folks just to tease the show a little bit. We have one of the ladies looking for love, Miriam, and she meets Omar. And I've heard a lot of us, I might have done this at one point or not, we hear back that they are already very early in the process falling asleep on FaceTime together, like pretty immediately. And Yasmin asks, you have to set him, you go to set her straight, like, what are you doing? And then you go to him and he's like, yeah, it's too much too soon. And I thought they were on the same page, but they weren't. And I need to know. It's
I also
wild.
thought they were on the same page, and we had words with Omar about this, but he owned up to his role in all of this.
Well, I mean, I'm sorry. What was that, Yasmin?
I was going to add, Hood is exactly right. And it's so hard to get people to pace correctly in a relationship. And oftentimes people are forced into a faster pace than they like, or even a slower pace than they like, and they can't say it. They just can't communicate clearly and say, hey, this is not the pace that actually works for me. And I come in and just try my best to talk to people about that they should be on the same page. And when you have mismatched expectations in a relationship, it's a train wreck. Just a train wreck.
Yeah. Well, we definitely see a little bit of that. Hoda, what does dating with intention mean to you? Or can you explain to the audience? I mean, people might think they understand what that means, but what does that mean to you?
I think dating with intention, in the show and in our philosophy of matchmaking in general, is knowing that you're looking for something serious and taking all the right steps to achieve that for us, marriage. Marriage is on the table from day one. We're not going into this looking for something casual. We're not going into this talking to 10 different people at once. It's being intentional about giving the right amount of time to the person that is right in front of you and focusing and doing what you can to make a meaningful connection and just being thoughtful the entire time, whether it works or it doesn't.
Well, that sounds way too mentally healthy, what you just explained, and very different than I think a lot of people do. So what I learned also in this is that you break down certain things, is that halal is permissible and haram is not permissible in the faith. So, and you kind of, break down in these like little charts of like what is haram and what is halal and what is haram to each of these couples. But explain to the audience just kind of some specificity in terms of each of those for certain of your clients.
Yeah. So in Islam, we have things that are permissible to us and things that are not permissible. Some of the big ones are like drinking, premarital intercourse, eating pork, things like that. So we have these rules and these guidelines, but of course, everybody's an individual and will decide what makes sense for their lifestyle and how much they're going to adhere to these guidelines, essentially. And so you really want to match somebody with somebody else that it has the same halal haram ratio. If somebody drinks every day or has a glass of wine with dinner every day, you're not going to set them up with somebody that's like never had a sip of alcohol. It doesn't make sense. It's a lifestyle mismatch. So I
like that there's a ratio. There's like math involved
now
as well. There's a ratio, which I like.
Absolutely. We had one client literally when I asked him what's your halal haram ratio? He was like, so do you mean like 70% this and 30% this? We're like, that's exactly what we mean, but yeah.
Well, we see these small examples of you meeting with the clients and getting to know them, but in reality, how long do these like intake sessions go where you actually get to know these people that you're working with?
Yeah, they're at least like an hour, typically our first conversations, but then it's like, you don't learn everything just in that first intake call. You learn about them as you go, as you match them with people, and it's a moving process as much as you learn. But Yasmin, why don't you also add?
Yeah, for me too, it should not last less than an hour, I think. And I always want to talk to people too about when we meet them and we have an intake, we can also get a little bit of a flavor of how they would date or what they would talk about, to someone that they've never met before. So for me, it just gives so many cues about what help, what advice, what assistance they really might need, and also to give them a bit of guidance from our experience and our wisdom. So if they want to keep talking and talking and talking, for example, I can reel them in and just be like, hey, we have an hour, especially when you go on your first date. Out of the rules of 3, when you go on your 3 dates, you don't really want to spend more than 2 hours with somebody. Or if it's rolling and rolling and rolling, you want to make sure that you're serious. We had to have a conversation kind of like that on the show to explain again the pacing. A lot of folks just don't know how to date. And the intake for me is one of the first indicators of how do they talk to people they don't know? And does this work or not?
Yeah. And what's their experience like so far? That's a big one. Like, what is their dating history like? And how is that going to play into the people we set them up with in a good way or a bad way?
The other thing I was learning about through your show is the courting process. And, you talk about this, and I think this is really interesting, is that, part of it is 3 intentional meetings in 3 months. That's a requirement. And then you get to a point where you need to really do the heavy lifting and ask 300 questions of your partner that ranges everywhere from finance to kids. I mean, just across the board. And I keep getting hung up on the 3 intentional meetings in 3 months. Don't you want to see somebody so much more than that in 3 months?
For sure. Oh, absolutely. So what we actually mean by that is that you want to do 3 dates and then kind of decide, hey, is this a person that I want to spend 3 months getting to know or not? So we want folks to have matched expectations after the 3rd date. For the purposes of the show, obviously that happens with a commitment from the outset. Like, hey, is this a person that you're going to be cool with? Cool. Let's commit to this for 3 months to discover an emotional connection. We just really believe that if you're going to fail fast in a relationship, please don't waste everyone's time being in this like situationship with someone for 6 months, a year, moving in with them for 3 or 4, and there's just no commitment. We really stress that commitment. And we also think that that is kind of what makes us different as Muslims. We are really searching for that deep connection, the real. We want you to feel all the feelings. We want you to be able to share your life with the person that you love as a true partner.
Yeah, please.
I would say, I think a lot of people get tripped up and get confused by the 3 months part because they think that we mean like by 3 months, you need to know if you're going to marry this person,
right,
and you need to go buy a ring and you need to propose. That is not what we mean. We mean by 3 months, you've figured out, is there real potential here or not?
Yes.
And you're figuring out like, can I build an emotional connection? Is there something to build off of and kind of to keep the momentum going, or decide like, okay, you know what? I don't really think this person's for me. So we don't expect you to get married in 3 months.
Yeah. After the 3 months, we want you to talk about commitment timelines, which is, what is my timeline for commitment? A lot of our couples, there's no artificial timeline, but a lot of them are engaged by 6 months and married by a year, but some don't get engaged until the year mark or the year and a half, and they're not married by 2. But we really try to encourage people to start talking about real commitment after those 3 months, or let the person go. No big deal.
Yeah, I mean, guys, by the way, do you also do breakups? I mean, do you matchmake and also help with the breakups?
Yeah, I do.
That's actually a bonus.
I've done 17 divorces. I've mediated them. Yeah.
Wait. Did you matchmake and divorce the same couples? Okay.
Surprisingly, Ryan, I am not that kind of conveyor belt.
He's like one size,
but
I was like, we already have a spinoff for your show. We have a spinoff already.
But I am a person who has really tried to help people just mitigate circumstances so that they can speak to each other in excellence, especially when the emotions are really high.
I think love is just one of the most precarious emotions that any human can feel, and there's so much of our own, obviously our persons are in this so deeply and our minds are out of whack because, we either put so much pressure on it or we treat it like it's toilet paper. And that's why I was finding it interesting of really the respect that you encourage each of these people to think about it with. And I was just thinking about culture these days and how quick everything moves, or even just watching television like me, like everything's so quick. And it was interesting to think about slowing down and the pace of things and sitting with your feelings, which I don't think we're trained to do anymore. And I watched this with like this great amount of hope, but also there was like this inner fear, wondering where we go from here. And I was just wondering, throughout this process and even doing the television show, what do you notice out there? Because I feel like your job's got to get harder each year.
Oh, it does. Oh, I can say this past year in matchmaking has been the hardest yet, as far as like dealing with people's like stupid expectations and not looking for the right thing, not handling the process in like a delicate way. I think especially in the era of like dating apps, social media, swipe culture, we want like instant gratification.
Yeah.
You want to connect with somebody right away. You want to feel the feels and the butterflies and the sparks right away. And if not, you want to look at the 10 other people you've swiped right on. And it's just made people like just not know how to converse. You'd be surprised how many people I work with. I'm like, you don't know how to have a conversation anymore. Like it's crazy. It's gotten harder, but that's, I think, why the job of a matchmaker is so important, because we're working against all these cultural shifts and all these new narratives that pop up every day, essentially. And you know, slowly but surely we get to kind of reshape the narrative and rein things in and teach people, you know, one person at a time, how to do this in the right way.
Yeah, and I just want to add, that's exactly right. When we meet people, like I said, the intake is really a big indicator of whether they can have that conversation that Hoda's talking about, and whether they can really be engaged and kind of meet you with a certain level of vulnerability as well. Like, are they really open? Are they really ready? Because there's people that come to me and they want to be matched, and I look at them and I go, you got to go to therapy. You're not really ready. You know, like, talk to me in 6 months, talk to me in a year. Like, let's do a progress report. And I really think that the exact same experience that Hoda has experienced about the last years, I would say last couple of years of doing matchmaking has been the most challenging. And I think it's very much related to the fact that people expect so much out of their devices, out of maximizing their lives, or somehow kind of optimizing things like their machines. And love is so not like that. If we just think about how long it takes for us to really have a deep connection with our best friends or the work colleagues that we start trusting over time, it just cannot happen instantaneously. And you actually have to go through some things. You have to be tested. You have to be battle tested. And that does take time. We always say to our clients, we want to see them, you know, really see the whole life cycle or the panoply of someone's feelings. You want to see them when they're happy, when they're annoyed, when they're super excited, and also when they're sad. And you don't really want to make a decision until that's all that's happened. We really think that within 3 months, you'll just know if there's potential or not. And we just don't want you to be tethered to someone kind of in this like no man's land in the limbo. And that has been the big thing. So much commitment phobia, so much gaming in the system, so much playing the system that you're like, I'll give you 10% of me. And then I'll give this other person another 20 and we'll see.
But like, that, like, you'll give them 10% and another person 10%, but then you want 100% right away from the other person.
That's it.
Yeah.
And if they don't give you that 100%, they don't respond like, right away. They're not telling you where they're at. They're not like out the gate, like committed. Then you're like, bye.
Well, it's so hard because we go through life and we build up these experiences, and it either makes us retreat deeper into ourselves or it makes us overwant sometimes or more gregarious. But to your point, and speaking of this, one of my favorite characters in the show so far is Fulani, I believe his name is.
Yes, and Fulani.
I mean, speaking of the culture now, like he's, you know, he lets us know he's been on every app. He was on Christian Mingle. He was on Farmers Only. And I'm like, wow. So then he goes to a Matchmaker, and we see, you know, his first date, and out of the gate, it's, I mean, I think this kid is really, really funny, but he's making jokes about dolphins. They're fighting about cheesecake, yet they still have a second date. At Hoda, I believe you're even watching them from your car at one point. But what was I mean, here's somebody that's, if they've been on all the apps, how do you slow that down? I mean, he comes in, he's like, where are all the Muslim shorties at? You know, he has, what was your take on Fulani?
Yasmin, you go ahead.
Yeah, I work with Fulani. First of all, I love him.
Yeah,
I really have a deep love for him and deep appreciation for him. But as you'll see on the show, I kind of hand it to him. I'm like, whoa, Fulani, this, and this. Like, you're expecting all of these things to happen for you and for there to be a cornucopia, so to speak, like a whole table spread. But like, what are you offering exactly? And like, can you slow down and focus on one thing? A lot of folks that we are working with have experienced kind of growing up in a generation where there is a lot of choice. And sometimes we think that is an illusion of choice. You think that there's so many fish in the sea, everyone is compatible with you. And it's like, nah, that ain't it. You know, like, a lot of times we just have to find someone that we can be compatible with because they compliment us. They don't annoy us too much, and we kind of want to touch them. Like, that's basically it. Like,
we kind of want to touch them. We just kind of want to. Okay, yeah, we just kind of want. I kind of want to touch you. Them.
Like, you'd be okay with a little touchy touch, and that's like basically it. You know, you just don't want someone to drive you up the wall. But man, I think Fulani was such a cool experience to work with him because I saw him evolve. I know him now. He is like a completely just like bigger person. It's just so cool. It's just so cool.
Yeah.
He's one of the, like, when you first meet or talk to Fulani, you can see what the end goal is with him. Like, you know, he can get there, and you know that he wants the right things, but the process of him getting there, he needed a little bit of hand holding. He needed a little bit of help, but he wasn't, what I loved about him, he was not jaded. No. And this is the hardest part. You get clients who have had these horrible experiences on apps and in dating and in life. And of course, things can be really difficult, but they're so jaded and it's so hard to undo that. And that's when you tell them like, okay, you got to take a couple steps back before you can like start dating people. But Fulani was not jaded. He was like, he'd done all the things, all the apps, all the things, but he was still so hopeful about the process and so open to the guidance that we gave him. And that's why, like, I know he's going to have a successful relationship. I'm sure of it.
Oh, he's he's good. He's good. That heart is so big of his.
Yeah.
And like you said, he remains open. We always say, I say open is golden. Just remain open. That's the real gold. Like that's how you spin everything into gold in your life, including the disappointments. You just say, well, I'm open. Is there something more that I can learn from this? Is there something deeper that I can understand? Is there another shade I can get from this experience?
That's a hard thing to be open, though. It is a very hard thing. So he was one of my... Yeah, he was one of my favorites, though. So I, when I was watching this too, I mean, like I obviously said, there are these different things different customs that I'm like, okay, I'm learning this, but I did notice a lot of commonalities, and even what you've said here this last 20 minutes, this is everybody in a way, this is everybody of like how they have built up walls or, all, like that's what I found interesting too, is that I'm like, okay, this is different, but this is so the same that it's interesting. And there is also, I want to point out, so much humor in this show as well. I was really laughing at, there's Noreen, who is dating a guy named Fahim at one point, and they meet at an arcade, and they talk about Drake and Beyonce, and they say brown boys like Drake and brown girls like Beyonce, and she's like, yeah, South Asian men have a toxic relationship with Drake, and I legitimately laughed. I was like, wow, that is nailing it. I thought that was great. But also it brings us into this pop culture focus of like, yeah, man, it's music. They're talking just like everybody does. Like, I loved it. It was so fun.
But that's really what we wanted to achieve. There's so many things we wanted to achieve, but one of them was just like showing Muslims as like normals.
Exactly. Yeah, they're not. It wasn't like Allah did this. Like they're talking about Drake and Beyonce, and they're making good points. Like this is great.
Yeah, we're normal, and I think it's going to be probably jarring to a lot of people that are used to seeing us a certain way or Muslims being perceived a certain way to just watch this. And I think everybody will be able to relate to one character on some level. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, and also I was just thinking though, just about what you just said in terms of, how much obviously representation matters, but also do you feel a burden with that representation? Because sometimes that can be such a weight when you're like, we're just out here trying to hook people up with each other and find love. And now we have to represent, the entirety of Muslim America. We have to represent all of this. And also we have to bring who we are to a new audience. Does that feel pressure filled for you, or is that something so exciting?
Both. It was a heavy weight on everybody's shoulders, on Smriti, on Sinan Khashoggi. Like they brought on Sinan because
those are the producers, and
they brought on, which we so appreciate. They brought on Sinan because she's Muslim, and they wanted to make sure they have an expert who's part of the community and also part of the industry, and giving that proper viewpoint. But it was a huge weight that we didn't take lightly, but at the same time excited and honored to have the opportunity to do this in the way that we wanted to.
Yeah, I think in general, being a minority in the United States, any minority can really relate that sometimes their actions feel bigger than just themselves, that the ripple is so much deeper and wider than their own experience. And I think that can create sometimes real excellence, and sometimes it can be very jarring and can break people down. I think it's just... I feel like it's just grace. You have to have grace with yourself, and you have to say, I represent myself, but I know that someone could take what I'm doing to represent something much bigger, and you have to have care. And I really think that we try our best to have grace with ourselves, to be excited about life, to be excited about the joy that the show is bringing and showcasing. And at the same time, have care and be thoughtful in what we say and how we say it, because Muslims are just like everybody else. We cry and love and fear the exact same ways. We want the same things that everyone wants, and we want to live beautiful, rich lives.
Well, that sounds horrible. All of it. That is not, no. Listen, and I also, that's kind of what we just talked about was a little heavy, but I just want to say this show is so filled with humor and love and lightness, which I want to emphasize. And I was talking about ethical storytelling and ethical reality television earlier, which we don't get to see a lot of. And I have a whole show based on non-ethical reality television. So when you see something, you're like, oh, this, it's like when I watch Love on the Spectrum on Netflix or Indian Matchmaking, they're like, you can achieve two things at once, which I think you guys do to great effect. I got a couple more minutes with you. I wanted to mention really quick. I have not got to see all 8 episodes because you didn't give them to me, unfortunately. So I have to watch like everybody else. But there's a couple in the later episode. What's her name? Unibin Farwal, right? Am I saying the names correctly? Farwal. So she goes on a date and she isn't feeling it. She is like, no. And you have to go to her and say, I think you got to give it a second chance. She wasn't, it didn't seem like she was attracted to him. And you're like, you're wrong. You're wrong. You got to do it again.
100% what it was. Somebody was just like closed off after the meeting, even though it was like a normal, fine first date or first interaction. They weren't attracted, and it's hard to convince people to come back from that or to give that a chance.
But I always say,
why encourage them to go back? That was the thing that confused me. Why encourage her to go back?
I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why, Ryan. Okay, because I think that attraction is oftentimes a matrix, which means that it can ebb and flow with time and it can change. If someone treats you in a certain way, sometimes that attraction will change. Sometimes someone who is very, I would say, conventionally attractive on the outside can say something or do something. You're like, ugh.
You get the ick.
Ugh. And then someone else who maybe you're not initially attracted to could really treat you in a way that is incredible, say things that make you really start rethinking maybe the way that you thought, and the attraction builds. That's why we ask for the rules of 3. We say just date someone 3 times and then say yes or no. Don't just X them right away, because sometimes they may do or say something that actually sparks your interest. And we don't want you to be like chasing the fireworks right away, and understand that attraction sometimes builds and it sometimes fades.
Well, I mean, spoil it for me. Does she end up like going out with the
No, we can't say a word.
Oh, God.
We can't say a word, Ryan. You got to watch the show.
I am watching the show. I am. I also want to congratulate you. I was talking earlier. I don't think you were here for this, but there was a great article in the Wrap.com yesterday talking about Muslims' pivotal Hollywood moment, and it mentioned your show and 2 other shows. And I thought this was so amazing, and especially in this moment that we're in right here and now in in America, that I thought this was such a great thing to watch in representation. And I just want to keep telling you, it's like, try this out. I think you're going to love it. I think you're going to really walk away with a warm feeling and potentially learn something like I did. And would you be open for a season 2?
We're dying for a season 2.
Well, I mean, is there already a season 2? Can you break the news
here? This is what we're going to say. This is what we're going to say, Ryan. You always want all the secrets, and we can't give you all of our secrets, okay?
You're going to give me one.
None. No. You're going to get, well, you got a little bit of our sauce. You got a little bit of our secret sauce behind the ingredients, right? Like you got, before you see the stew. What I will say is, for us, we know that there is no dearth or lack of people who are looking for love. We are here to bring the love to the people who are searching for it. But the audience has to be here to make the show a big success so that there is a season 2.
Yep. I mean, this is why shows like these are important, and why they're taking the time to do these shows, so people can go put their eyes on this thing. And guys, I'll tell you, I'm one of the first people, if I have to watch something, you've heard me before, I'll be like, I had to slog through this thing. And I was really enjoying watching this. And it was one of those things like, oh, okay, I'll do another episode. And I think that's just the highest compliment, to just give something a shot. I also just wanted to ask, finally, since we do a lot of pop culture on this, what do you guys watch and listen to on your downtime? Do you watch any television? Do you watch any trash TV? What do you guys watch?
Oh yeah, I'm not a Bravo person. I've been asked that question before.
So you're mentally healthy.
Are you a Bravo person? I'm not a Bravo. I do all the real estate ones, selling Sunset, selling the city.
You do selling Sunset?
I do, and I love it. Okay.
You would love Bravo then. What are you talking about?
I just haven't yet. I know. I think I would. I think I would. I just haven't. But all the selling, the everything, I'm so there for it.
Yeah, I love the Real Housewives. I mean, who doesn't want to see a train wreck from far away and then just as the train cars collide? It's fabulous.
That's week after week. And that's why we need shows like this to combat. I mean, like, this is why, like, if I watch Real Housewives of Salt Lake City reunion, I can watch an episode of this and still go to bed and feel good about myself, you know?
And
That's why I haven't started. There's so many. I don't know where to start.
Oh, well, we can tell you, but Beverly Hills is pretty good. I would say
Beverly Hills is good. Salt Lake City, I think, is amazing. It's just so bizarre.
That is bizarre. New York is good.
I just
New York is amazing.
I didn't know where to start. There's like Atlanta. There's all of them.
Yeah, Atlanta's really good too. Oh, and they're like pop culture icons now. I
truly.
I listened to a podcast called NPR's Hidden Brain just to balance.
Yeah,
because we need balance, right, Ryan?
How I Built This is my one. Guy Raz.
Exactly. Well, thank you for bringing balance to this show today, and I wish you ladies all the success in the world, and I hope there is a second and a third season so you'll come back and share with us more about the inner workings, and just congratulations. This was truly a feat, and I think it's just amazing. I think people are going to love it. Thank you
so much, Ryan. You have to let us know what you think when you finish.
Yeah,
I know. I'm going to be like, you could have let me know today, but now I have to watch. No, I'm excited to watch. So you guys, all the information will be in the show notes. I'll also put it up in my Instagram stories and all that. But February 11th, this starts dropping right in time for Valentine's Day. So get your love on with Muslim Matchmaker. Thanks, ladies.
Thank you, Ryan. What a treat.